डाल डाल मेरी चाल कौन डाल दूं क्या?
अबे डाल दे आज मार्केट ट्रेंड में है।
आईफोन
सब लगा दे, सब
लगा
All in. So that's about as complicated as I'd ever want my technical analysis to get. But also, last week, the stock market did something incredible. It reached a peak of over 5,000. And for reference, 5,000 points for the S&P 500 is the highest that it has ever reached in the stock market's history. Now, if by the time you're watching this video, you notice that the stock market has gone down, it's because I bought in. You're welcome. But also, anytime the stock market reaches an all-time high, people get super excited. Even people like Michael Burry, who's the guy who predicted the 2008 global financial crisis, apologized for telling people to sell their stocks. And as someone who's been investing in the stock market since 2014, and someone who still considers himself to be a complete amateur, and I'm still learning and still have a lot to learn, I wanted to find out what happens after the stock market reaches an all-time high, based on historic data. Because right now, we have a couple interesting things going on in the market. Like for example, there's something called the Magnificent Seven, the 7 tech stocks of the stock market that are usually leading the way and making most of the money. And right now, just 4 of them, Amazon, Meta, Microsoft, and Nvidia, are responsible for 69% of the stock market's growth this year. That's kind of insane. It's like having 500 people on a sports team and 4 of them are doing 70% of the legwork. Also, one of those stocks, Nvidia, just reached a market cap that's bigger than China's entire stock market. Also, now that it's election year in 2024, things are about to get pretty spicy. And I want to know, just for myself, what happens next? Should I pause investing? Should I invest even more money? What does history tell us should technically happen next? That's what I want to show you, so let's get into it. Hi, my name is Andrei Jikh. Hope you're doing well. Come for the finance and stay for the all-time highs. And speaking of all-time highs, what I found really interesting is that when this index, the S&P 500, crashes, that tends to happen when the stock market reaches an all-time high. And that's kind of weird because I thought stock market crashes could happen at any time. And the truth is, they can, but they tend to happen either during an all-time high or somewhere near the peak after the stock market experienced a huge amount of growth. Now, there's lots of corrections and smaller crashes throughout history of 10% or more, but typically history shows that these crashes tend to happen when the market reaches a new peak. Now, it doesn't always happen right away, but if you look at arguably the 5 most famous stock market crashes, the Great Crash of 1929, 1987's Black Monday, 2000/2002 dot-com bubble, the 2008 financial crisis, and the 2020 pandemic. All those 5, the stock market crashed while it was at its all-time high or somewhere near it. And we just reached a new all-time high. The truth is, markets don't just crash because they've reached an all-time high. It's a lot more complicated than that. But what's also interesting is that when the market does reach its all-time high, it gets going really fast. Like, remember when the stock market was super excited to see its first trillion-dollar company? Well, in 2018, Apple became the first one to do it. Actually, that's not true. It was PetroChina that reached it in 2007 for a brief period of time, but for most people, they'll remember Apple as being the first one in 2018. But the point is, just 2 years later, Apple doubled its market cap to $2 trillion. And now we have at least 7 companies that are worth $1 trillion, with Microsoft becoming the most valuable company in the world, surpassing Apple at $3 trillion. Think about how crazy that is. It took us centuries to see the first real trillion-dollar company. And now recently, we're seeing them pop up everywhere. And for a lot of people, seeing these high numbers and these all-time highs is making them scared to invest their money because it makes us feel like we're investing at an all-time high when stocks are overvalued. But here's what history shows us usually happens next. So history shows us that when the stock market reaches an all-time high, the next thing that should happen is a series of more all-time highs. Here's a really interesting chart from wealthofcommonsense.com. It shows data going back to the 1950s that when there's a new all-time high, it's usually followed by a cluster of more all-time highs back to back. That's why in January 2024, the stock market set 6 new all-time highs. So there were at least 6 periods in January this year when the stock market went higher and higher to the highest point it's ever been. But the question I ask myself is, Should I invest more money at an all-time high? It doesn't feel like I should. It's so counterintuitive, but this next part blew my mind. This is data from JP Morgan, and their research shows that when investors invested money at an all-time high, it made them more money than had they invested their money any other day. Check this out. Since 1988, investing on a normal day that's not an all-time high, a one-year return has averaged 11.7%. But if you invested at an all-time high and stayed invested for at least a year, the return jumped to 14.6%. And if that money stayed invested for 3 years, the gap increased from 39.1 to 50.4%. And even at the 5-year mark, it's still higher than any other day. The question is, why does that happen? Isn't the whole idea buy low and sell high, or in Reddit's case, buy high and sell low? And the theory behind why these all-time highs clustered together like that is because of human psychology. When we see the stock market go up, we tend to put more of our money into it. So everybody FOMOs in and the stock market goes even higher. When that happens, the media picks up on it, people start to make YouTube videos about it, and we feel left out. So not to feel left out, we put our money into it, causing the stock market to go higher, and it's a feedback loop. But eventually, the stock market gets disconnected from reality and from fundamentals, and that's when investors sell. This is also why volatility and downward movements cluster together, because when the stock market falls, people start to sell the stocks they bought into the most, which in this case happen to be tech stocks, and we've already seen a huge sell-off with tech and small market cap stocks, which is also why they're making the biggest comeback right now. It's the herd mentality of the stock market that makes it work the way it does. But 2024 is also an election year, and I wanted to know, what happens to the stock market next? Every time there's an election year, it feels like both Democrats and Republicans are like, this is the most important election of our lifetime. If you don't elect our president, the economy will crash. But if you elect our president, the stock market will go up. And what's interesting is that elections do make a difference to the stock market in the short term. But in the long term, the stock market doesn't care. It'll continue to go up. But what's even more interesting is that there is a magical combination of both Democrats and Republicans coming together to not work together that the stock market really likes. But first, I also want to show you some of the more recent election selections to see which president had the best stock market. In the first 3 years of presidency, from best to worst, it was President Barack Obama, Donald Trump, Joe Biden, and then George W. Bush. But so far, under President Joe Biden, the S&P 500 index increased 30.5%. Now, we still have another year for Mr. Biden, and this year the stock market could go crazy, but as good as 30% is, one of the best 4-year stock market periods was actually under President Donald Trump, when the stock market went up 67.2% from when he took office to when he left office. Now, if we ignore all the things that make up the economy, like employment, interest rates, geopolitics, and so many other things, between the two, you could say that Mr. Trump is probably better for the stock market because he's seen as more pro-business. But I think it's too early to declare a winner, and we have to look at some more data. And here's a chart that shows how well each party's president did in the year that they were elected. Now, it's missing 2020 data, but the market was up about 16% that year, so in line with averages. Now, from all of this data, one thing we can say for sure is that during an election year, the stock market tends to go up. In fact, out of the last 16 election years, the stock market has gone down only twice, and that was during the year 2000 and 2008, which were just crazy years. So assuming that luck is on our side and we don't have some crazy black swan event happen, the stock market should technically go up in 2024, which is also an election year. Now, if you look at this data and you compare all the numbers that are blue against all the numbers that are red, you'd probably say that having a Republican as president is better for the stock market. And you'd actually be kind of wrong, but also kind of right, and here's why. If you cherry pick the right data, you can prove anything, and this is true of election years as well. Because if we go back to data farther than the 1960s like I originally showed you, like for example, back to 1926, we can learn even more interesting things about the stock market. Since 1926, we've had 23 presidential elections. Now, a Republican was president for 47 years, and a Democrat was president for 51 years. Now, the average return for the S&P 500 when a Republican was president was 9.3%. Now, the average for the S&P when a Democrat was president was 14.7%. So clearly from that data, Democrats are better for the stock market. And you'd be forgiven for thinking that if Democrats represent your beliefs because of confirmation bias. But if you keep on digging and you keep on looking, you'll find out that Democrats are not necessarily better when you factor in Congress and who controls it. Congress is, of course, divided into the House and the Senate, and when it's divided, it just means neither party controls both. Doesn't really matter who controls which, as long as it's divided. Now check this out. A unified Republican control of both Congress and the presidency resulted in a return of 14.5%. And that is better, if only slightly better, than a unified Democratic control at 14%. So in terms of full control of everything, Congress and the presidency, Republicans are actually slightly better. But when magic happens, when everything comes together and gives us the best result for the stock market, is when power is divided in a very specific way. If Congress is divided with a Republican president, the stock market only made 7.3%. But when Congress was divided with a Democratic president, the stock market made a huge 16.6%. That's insane. That means right now we have the best outcome that we could hope for, because the 118th Congress, which we have right now, is divided. We have a Democratic Senate majority and a Republican House majority, and the president is a Democrat. So the first best outcome is what we have right now. The second best outcome is when Republicans control everything. And the third best outcome is when Democrats control everything. But I think it's funny that when we come together and power is divided, that's when the stock market's like, while you guys argue and get nothing done, that's when I'll make money. That means that right now, this year, in this moment, at the stock market all-time high, in an election year, is the best we could ever hope for, which I guess is a reason that's good enough to continue to invest and a dollar cost average. I'll leave all the sources down below for you to check out and look at. It's really fascinating stuff, but in the meantime, I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day. Smash the like button, subscribe if you haven't already. Don't forget to grab your free stocks, links are down below, and then go track them automatically with a spreadsheet link down below in my Patreon. Love you, thank you so much for watching this video. I'd love to see you back here on Monday and Friday, sometimes a Wednesday. See you soon, bye-bye.